Hello, this is Sarah V, and today I'm going to be making a dress. It's been a few weeks since I've made a dress, so that will be fun. It's already been cut out. I cut it out last spring, I think. But then I had other matters to attend to with my wedding dress and making clothes for my honeymoon, so I just never finished it. The pattern is DuBarry 5587, and I am making the view with the ruffly lace. The fabric I am using is this floral cotton that I got at Fabricmart. And the lace I have for it is this eyelet lace that someone gave me. I am hoping it will fit. My measurements aren't the same as they were then. So if I have to, maybe I'll end up adding a gusset under the arms. But I'm hoping it will still fit. And maybe adding a little bit onto the inset belt. But other than that, I think it should be good. After ironing my pieces, I started by sewing a facing onto the bodice back for the back neck slit. After this, I sewed up the shoulder seams and pressed them at the ironing board. While at the ironing board, I ironed my bias to the shape of my neckline, cheesing it where I got to the corners in the front because I don't miter well. I just kind of tried my best, and if it looked right when I turned it out, it's all the better. Before I sewed the shoulders together, I also trimmed the neck so that it is 1/4 inch smaller the whole way around because I was worried it would be kind of choked. At the machine, I sewed the bias down around the neck. After trimming and clipping, I was back at the ironing board, ironing the bias down and turning the edge under and the slit facing out. After hand sewing the neck bias down, I pinned on my eyelet lace and ran it through the machine. Those corners meeting the armholes didn't end up as clean as I would have liked, but they were good enough. They did the job. On to putting the gathering stitches in the bodice, 2 above bust, 2 at the front waist, and 2 at the back waist. Next, I gathered the bodice front into the front yoke. After pressing the seam allowance up, I decided to edge stitch it down so it wouldn't change its mind after laundering. Especially around the sleeves, that's where I was worried about the most. Next, I threw the sleeves in, not well, but the eyelet lace hides the top of the sleeves, so I reckon it's okay. Next, I sewed the sleeve and side seams in one go and tried it on, and I got stuck in it, and I had to get assistance in taking it off. After sewing 2 strips along the side seams and a gusset I took out later, it fit, and I sewed the inset belt to it. I also decided to edge stitch the inset belt so that the seam allowance stays down. This was entirely unnecessary, but it made me happy. Next, I rolled up the hem for the sleeves and just sewed it through on the machine. Onto the skirt, I am starting by ironing the seam allowance on the pockets down and ironing the top of the pocket into place. At the machine, I sewed the lace down before flipping the top pocket down and edge stitching under the lace. I hand sewed the top of the pocket down onto the inside so it wouldn't show from the outside. I can now sew the pockets down on the skirt. I am now putting the gathering stitches in the skirt panels. After that, I sewed up the side seams of my skirt, leaving an opening on the left side for my zipper. Back at the ironing board, I am pressing the seams open, followed by gathering the skirt into the inset belt and sewing it together. Now all that's left is the hem, and I just pressed that up and approximated the hem length, and then I just ran it through the machine. Overall, I am very happy with how this dress turned out. I have a little bit of extra room, which I probably could have left out, but it's nice and comfy. I did end up having to move the pocket over because the way I gathered it in, it was uneven. And I think part of that was because whenever I folded the fabric in half to find the center, I had already put the gathering stitches in, which already had started to gather it. So it wasn't even. So I had to move the left pocket over because it looked like it started all the way at the side seam and it looked visibly off. So then I just kind of eyeballed it to see where I should put it so it looks even. I also ended up having to add, it's really hard to see because of the pattern, but add a strip in all the way there because it did not fit and I got stuck in it. So the arms they're not the best movement of arms, but it's also non-stretch fabric. And I did have gussets in, but they were like all the way down here and it wasn't a cute look. And I can move my arms enough with this and it looks much better than it did whenever I had I think I made them 3 inches by 3 inches. That was including the seam allowance. So they were a little big. Maybe if they were smaller, they would have looked better, but the way they were was a no. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and if you would like to see more sewing content, please subscribe. If you would like to see what I'm up to day, feel free to follow me on Instagram at Sarah V Sews Vintage. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time.